Everyone. I'm Bobby Fazy, estate and business planning attorney. Good to see everyone here today. And we are doing the InSight Law Family Education Program. Some ground rules here. Thanks for letting us know you're here. Michelle, our assistant Michelle, is she's going to be checking everyone and making sure everyone gets their attendance. If you have a question, I've muted everyone because we have such a large group. If you do have a question, go ahead and type it in the chat. I promise I will answer any questions that you have. And if I don't get to the questions, I'll make sure to get them to you or shoot an email to you as a follow-up. But we have a good program today. I think you'll get some good information. I'll start in about a minute. I know we have a lot of attendees. Just want to make sure everyone gets settled. Your coffee drinker, feel free to have your morning coffee. I just got mine. And we'll start this thing up very soon. And so if someone could just type in that they can see my screen, I want to make sure I'm not showing you nothing, that we actually have the right screen up. All right. Yes, excellent. Thank you very much. All right, let's get started. So again, I'm Bobby Fazy. I'm an estate planning attorney, and really the goal today is to help people understand the practical issues when dealing with major estate planning life events. I find that there are a lot of misconceptions out there when it comes to estate planning. Our practice, we use revocable living trusts as kind of our home base, our foundation for our estate plans. And most of our clients, I hope, understand how the trust, the logistics work. We'll get into that today. But there, especially on the helpers, and helpers are people, right? This is one thing that we can't do on our own, estate planning. If you become disabled, you can't manage your finances at that time. Or when you pass away, you're not going to do your own administration. So you need helpers on this one. And the key here is to get your helpers to these types of programs at some point. And I like to do this about once every I do this every year, but the helpers come about once every 5 years to make sure that they're up to date, because things change on the different processes that we have. And one of the big things that I see people have is they don't understand. They get scared or they get concerned when they hear the word trust. Just to start you out, most people have an understanding of what a last will and testament is, and that is a legal document that takes legal effect after death. Okay, and it drives the family to probate. And I find people don't know what probate is. We'll talk about that a little bit today. And so, and that's a court proceeding. And so people have created revocable living trusts, or attorneys have promoted that. But there's a misexpectation where people think that, hey, I've created a trust when the helpers, when mom or dad pass away, there's nothing to do. Everything, we got to trust. Trust is going to do everything. It's a magic book. That's not the case. Okay, the trust is a great tool. It avoids the court process if it's managed properly and done properly. I'll show you that. But to get pretty blunt with you, death is a major life event. So all of your relationships, all of those things need to have closure, and we need to figure out, especially when it comes to your assets, taxes, and the like, to make sure those things are addressed and get smoothly to the next people in line without a bunch of hassle, delay, expense, taxes, and fighting. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about the practical issues today. I used to go into, for you, some of my charter clients who have been with us, we've had this process since 2007. We started this process that I'll show you today when it comes to the estate planning side. When I was early on, we used to go through in this type of program all the steps that we would follow, and all the technical steps of the trust, what happens on administration. And it was a good program and people liked it, but the problem with that One of the clients, one of the clients told me, I thought it was pretty funny. He says, the problem is I've got 2 years. Everything goes in 1 year and then out the other. And so, or the parking lot syndrome is where, every step to the parking lot, every step that I went to the parking lot, we used to do these live, chunks of information would fall out. So my goal today is to focus on like the 911 information, right? Just a couple keys, and also familiarize you with our process. So it's like, okay, they're not a typical estate planning firm. We are set up, and our processes are set up to develop a plan with our clients, maintain it, and be there when major life events occur, disability and death, to get them through that. We're not short-sighted. We're looking and trying to make this thing work for the whole life of the plan. Okay. And so I think a good start would be for everyone, for my clients, hopefully they remember my definition. This is the definition of estate planning that we use at our firm. So, any of you, and those of you who are helpers who have your own plans, ask your attorney how they define estate planning, right? So this is what we're here to do, right? And so the main pieces or the main key points to the definition is, number one, I want to control my property while I'm alive and well, right? While you're healthy, alive and well, things shouldn't change that much as far as your control. Then it becomes a plan for me and my loved ones if I become disabled, the mental disability, where you're not able to handle the financial assets. A lot of people think estate planning is just death planning. Disability planning, and we'll be talking about that a lot today, is actually a bigger and bigger deal these days, because there's just more issues, right? When you pass away, we're not taking care of the person, right? Besides the funeral arrangements, it is with a disability, we have to figure out where the person's care is going to get, what type of care, where the money is coming from. So there's a whole host of issues. And if you or family members are there to support the family and you don't have the idea of this, it's very disruptive. And it could be, it could be very tense in that time. And so our goal is to reduce that tension, have a strong process, and for you to familiarize yourself with our process. So definition of estate planning: I want to control my property while I'm alive and well. A plan for me and my loved ones if I become disabled, hopefully never become disabled, right? Then I want to give what I have to whom I want, when I want, in the way that I want. And I'll show you, a lot of people don't understand the ways they can receive their inheritance, all while assuring my wisdom is transferred along with the rest of my wealth. Trying to pass on to non-material wealth if we can do that. So the purpose today, like I said before, is to get you comfortable with our process, help familiarize helpers, beneficiaries, and family advisors with key estate planning issues. And I mean family advisors, right? If you do have a financial advisor or a trusted advisor, when you think about estate planning, one thing is a transfer of wealth, right? Well, a lot of wealth is kept with the financial custodian and the financial advisors. So if you have a financial advisor and we're in sync, that's going to make a lot of issues go a lot easier, rather than we're calling an 800 number for Vanguard or Wells Fargo or some other place that have no clue who we are or you, and we're just dealing through their phone trees. Okay. But these are just recommendations. We've had over 52 deaths at our firm, and so we've got some experience with this, and we have repetitions on this, and we have a strong process. We just need to make sure that we're communicating that to our clients and their families. And so we're going to also familiarize you with our maintenance plan. This is one of the key education programs at our maintenance plan. And to proactively help helpers to serve the plan creators, rather than, death occurs and now you're trying to figure all this stuff out. Let's have some key things that just, okay, 911 info, this is what I know. And that's what my goal is for you today, is just to know those main items, so that something does happen, you're familiar with our process enough. You don't have to be an expert. And then after the transfer, what's the best way to receive the wealth if you're an inheritor, right? We're not going to get into too much detail on that today. That's another program, but those are the things that we think about at the law firm, because we're thinking about the whole picture, okay? Where I find where there's common estate planning issues, where I see out there in the world other law firms, and where litigation occurs with other law firms, or probate, and plans that don't work, is when there's miscommunication or lack of communication between the plan creators and the helpers and the law firm. Okay, this is a team approach, And half the battle is just understanding how to communicate. At least from our side, we'll show you how to communicate with the law firm. But if you don't have an idea of what to do at the appropriate time, and you're trying to figure all this out during the grieving process, a lot of studies show that things don't sink in during that time. And a lot of times the things will get delayed, and actually the expenses go up because things are not sinking in at that time. So our goal, again, make it real clear how you can communicate with us, what our key reports are, and how we're checking the vitals each year. Another key issue, like I mentioned before, mental capacity issue is becoming a bigger and bigger deal. We're living longer, medical science. And so, we need to have a strong process for disability planning. There's nothing perfect on that side of things, but we've got, I feel, one of the stronger processes that are out there. And then things that are coming on the rise, thankfully, it's not, I haven't seen these for any of our clients, but, I go to different conferences and the like. A lot of elder abuse and financial abuse issues are occurring where caregivers are taking advantage of people, or maybe there's certain issues within the family. And so, with a strong process and we've got checks and balances, we can minimize those concerns. And so, that's another thing that I see out there. And then I probably think the number one issue that I see in the estate planning world, where people come, where people create trust with attorneys and the like, is that the assets, none of the follow-up work is done. And we're definitely going to talk about that. And you're going to learn the term funding if you don't know the term funding. My clients should know the term funding. I didn't come up with this term, estate planning. This is, I guess, it's just in the estate planning world. You just need to know the lingo, and half the battle today is for you to get comfortable just with the basic language that's out there. What's a trust? What does funding mean? Medical directives and the like. So practical. We're trying to be practical here and make sure that you're clear on those items. All right. So like I told you, I do go to a lot of different conferences. And one of the conferences that I thought was interesting, where there was a lady named by the name of Nancy Klein, and she wrote the book Time to Think. And then she actually wrote a follow-up book to that, which is one of my favorite titles of all time, More Time to Think. so she's focusing on how to get everyone's best thinking. And this one struck me when it comes to the estate planning world, is where and one example is when we ask our clients to fill out, we call it a special stuff list as part of the estate plan. It's a really fancy legal term, right? So the special stuff list is your personal effects that have some significance, right? Maybe some jewelry, family heirlooms and things, as opposed to your junk, okay? And so the special stuff list, what we find is when we ask our clients to ask the beneficiaries if they want certain things, or have a process to address that, if they want to give certain things to individuals, is that the beneficiaries don't want to talk about it. They think they would appear greedy to discuss this type of thing, right? And so the helpers don't want to talk about disability or death or any of those issues. And on the law firm side, we're trying to get this information to the beneficiaries, where we're trying to figure out, hey, how can we make sure that when the mom or dad pass away or there's a disability, that the helpers have an idea of what to do. And so we would try to cram all that information in one of these sessions for the clients to figure out every step that we do, because we didn't know, we only thought we would get only one chance to kind of see you. And so what Nancy said was, why don't you just kind of use what's called an incisive question? Why don't you just change the question and change the issue and make it an incisive question, and say, what would you do if you knew helpers and receivers would see a benefit of active planning participation? And then when we ask mom and dad, or ask the plan creators, what do they want to do? Why are they creating this plan? Is it really a big part of it is, I just want to make life easier for the people following me. I don't want to leave a mess for them, right? You took steps to do that. And so, if you're a helper, what would you do if you knew that, the people who create a plan for you value smooth transition, and that advanced discussion is key, right? So if you don't discuss it, then it just gets to be this thing that's out there, and then when something happens, no one's ready. My dad loved us, but he was a very private person. And when he got sick, he had this disease called Lewy body disease, and it caused dementia. We were left with more questions than answers because we had no idea what he wanted in that situation, how long he wanted care and the like. And so if you just ignore it, I know it makes the issue worse. So our goal is to at least raise some basic issues and discussions. And hopefully today I'll show you where those are at. And so again, the goal is just make it smoother, make it easier, don't make it painful. And I just find with a process, it produces predictable results. So I'm just familiarizing you with our process. And our process is as follows. We have a three-step approach, three-step strategy. The step one is developing the plan. So we've set that up with counseling-oriented planning partners. So we're not just, we're basically trying to make sure that number one, you're counseled on all your options. A lot of people didn't know some of the ways they could leave their assets to their loved ones. And if you do have financial advisor or other advisors that you trust, then making sure that we're working with them and that we're taking a team approach. And so that's great. And number two, that's where we're at right now. We're on the maintenance side. So all of you have set up plans, and now we're just maintaining it, checking the vitals each year. And that's what we're doing here. This is one of the bigger programs. Commit yourself and your family to a formal continuing maintenance and education program so that when something does happen, you can secure appropriate assistance to transfer your wisdom along with the rest of your wealth. Simple, right? So we're going to talk about the maintenance side of it. And a lot of estate planning is about transferring wealth. Okay, so I call this wealth transfer training. Is you're transferring assets, right? Not only assets, but non-material wealth, but the assets are titled in a certain way, and they got to be retitled, right? And so if they're in an individual's name or mom's name or dad's name or an individual, and that person's dead, is no longer there, then typically you got to get a court order for someone just to take that money, right? But with a trust is a contract. If we can put all of the assets in the trust, we don't have to go to get a court order. We still have to talk to the financial institutions. It just doesn't magically transfer over, and all the basis information, cost basis, all those things get updated, and the rollovers happen, and everything. So there's things to be done, right? But we can control it rather than be on the court schedule where you're looking at, and depending on your jurisdiction, could be 1, 2 months, 5 months before you get your first appointment. Okay. And so this is about how you transfer wealth outside of the court system, which, as you see, I'm wearing, I'm not wearing a suit. I'll wear a suit if I have to go to court. I don't have to go to court often, but that's the idea. And then the wealth reception planning training is just planting the seed, is that when, if you're the receiver of the wealth, and there's something that you can receive after the administration, well, how do you manage that? What's the best way? How do you maximize that? What are your options? Again, beyond the scope today, but that's another education program that we do down the line. Okay, this is just a basic 911, but you need to understand, when someone passes away or there's a disability, we need to get those assets into the next person's hands so that they can manage it, and without having to go to court to do that. And so the wealth transfer training, you're in nuts and bolts 1. I didn't know of any other better names. This is 1 through 4. But the idea is, number 1 is basically the 911 information of how to get familiar with our process. This is the 3 or 4 things that you need to know, and then show you some of our key reports so that you have an idea, and our digital technology, which will make sure. Then when, if you're dealing with a death, you're in that situation, then these are deeper dives where I do go through more of the detailed steps of death settlement. Here's how the trust works at that time. Here's the mechanics of it. And then disability settlement is when there's a disability. It's a settlement, even though, the assets haven't passed on to the next generation. there needs to be someone else managing those assets, and without having to go through a guardianship proceeding or a conservatorship proceeding, which I'll get into a little bit later. And then the fourth one is really for the wealth receivers. How do you maximize your inheritance? There's some cool things that we are able to do with trust, and want to make sure you know it. All right, so here's the main thing. These are the what you need to know items, right? So four goals today is, absolutely, if there's nothing else, know the law firm name and contact info. Okay, we're InSight Law. I'll show you our website. All the contact info is there. That's number one. That's level one, right? And then, as I told you, we have a very strong process, and so remember that we have a process and we've done this before. Okay, we've had 52 deaths and we've got this down, and so it produces predictable results. Just follow it. Okay, we don't do things like other firms. We're not charging hourly. We're not nickel and diming. We've got a specific way to do things that make it work for not only the clients but also the law firm. And it's not just me. We've got a team of 10, and we've got a great team here. And then give you an idea of the issues that you'll deal with. This is just a kind of a different area of law that no one really, if you don't really actively study this or research this, you're not gonna. It's hard to navigate at the disability death settlement items. And then just encourage you to be active in the plan participation as much as we can. I understand that everyone's busy, and people don't like to talk about these issues. So I'm trying to interrupt you every few years to do that, and to not make it onerous. But you do need to have the vitals, and so the more proactive participation, the better. It makes things just go easier. Okay, so the 911 info for the law firm, it's also on our website. Here's the phone number for the law firm. There's the website info, which we will definitely get into. And I'll show you how also, how to locate key client instructions and legal documents. And so those are the keys, right? And then just remember to relax. There's a dependable process. So if you know who the law firm is, you know our contact information, and you know how to locate key documents, you're in good shape. Okay, that's level one. And so all of our clients have this red binder. That's our red estate planning portfolio. That's what contains all of the legal documents. Okay, and the legal documents are. The main ones are the revocable living trust. Okay, and the trust is basically a contract. Don't be afraid of it. Okay, it's a great tool that we use, and our clients are the initial parties to the contract. They're the trust makers or the creators. They create it. They're the ones, the trustees. They're the one managing it, and then they're the initial beneficiaries. And just think of it as like we're creating this internal succession plan for the family rather than having the courts to be in charge of the succession plan. So revocable living trust is our home base. Okay, the pour over will, I call it the legal pooper scooper. If we're doing our job for clients that don't have minor children, the pour over will does very little. Okay, the pour over will says if I forgot to put something in my trust when I should have during my lifetime, scoop it up and put it in my trust after my death, right? The good news is it'll get to your trust. The bad news is every item that you left out is going to go through that court process that I mentioned. And so we're not going to have to do that because we're going to have everything ready to go up front unless we haven't been told about an asset or something hasn't been done that we've asked the client to do. And I'll show you how we have forms that will show you what we've asked on that end. So that's the main key. And then you've got medical directives, and medical directives are powers of attorneys. Those are legal documents designating an agent to make decisions for you when you can't make them. Okay. And then the financial power of attorney, go figure, legal document to make financial decisions, but that's a little bit different. I'll show you. And so we'll get into where that comes into place. But those are the main key documents that you want to be able to locate, and they're in the red book. But they're also on your portal. And when I get into the technology segment, we're living in a digital age. We're getting our clients. No, not everyone's there yet, but we have our paralegals and the like and interns transferring the documents to the portal so that we can have 24-hour access. So you don't have to go scrounging and finding them, right? And then the other documents or the other key items are, it's okay. So those are the legal documents, but there are also supplements or client instructions that supplement the legal documents. And the number one supplements that we feel are important are the healthcare supplements, healthcare checklists, and letters of instruction. Why? So the medical directive is a legal document designating an agent to make decisions for you, and it follows the statutes of the jurisdiction that you're located, but it gives broad powers. And so the healthcare checklist and letters of instructions are guiding you on how far you take things, and give you different scenarios and have more of the client's voice in there. And so those are things that we want to make sure that I think a good conversation goes a long way. I wish I had my dad had a conversation about his healthcare instructions, so I would have known that. It would have taken a tremendous burden off of us. But to us, you need to know where those are at, and I'll show you where those are at. If they've been completed. Not everyone has completed them. If you do have minor children, then a letter of instruction to guardian and trustees of the minor children are also a key document. And I forgot to mention, if you do have minor children, the will is important because the courts want to make sure that the guardians are fit. So the guardians are going to have to go to the court on that item, but that's only for clients with minor children. Final arrangements are just the arrangements for the funeral and the like, so that just makes life easier for the family during a difficult time. And then that special stuff list I was telling you about with the personal effects. So I will show you where all those items are going to be uploaded on the portal and the like. So here we're going to talk about technology. Okay, so get comfortable with our technology. And so let's just make sure we've got that for you. So let me show you. And hopefully my screen is sharing. This should show you our website, and let me know if it's not. And then just hit Client Dashboard. Okay, and our portal is our clients all have access to a portal. Your username is your email. And then you make up your own password initially. So let me make sure. Good. Michelle is letting me know we got this. It is showing. Thank you, Michelle. So, so then we go into the portal. Okay, and so the portal will have, when you get into your portal, mine looks a little different on the first because I have a couple other things. This is going to have a status. It's not going to have anything there. I can't change that, I'm sorry, but click the Documents tab. Okay, and the Documents tab, the goal there's going to be Estate Planning Documents header. Okay, guess what? Your Advanced Medical Directive, your Certification of Trust, Powers of Attorney, wills, all of those things are going to be on your portal. Okay, and the idea behind that is that you're not having to scramble, or your family's not having to scramble for those things if you can't find the red book. Okay, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And if you've completed them, if you completed the healthcare checklist, they'll be all there. The final arrangements will be there too. So you've got all of those items there, okay? And then we have two other key reports that I'll get to you, but I want to just show you. There's an estate planning review worksheet, which is an executive summary or the cliff notes of the plan. And that's part of our client update program folder. All of our clients update their legal documents on a 3-year kind of basis, okay? And so this is the document that we send to the clients, and we'll make sure you've got that. I'll dive into that a little bit later. And then an asset review report is one of our other key documents that makes sure that we have all the financial aspects. So action step is the portal. You can get in through that through our website. You don't have to necessarily go through the website if you've got it saved once you go through there once, but that's a good piece. Okay, another item that is important on this side is the Medical directives. Perfect. I'm on the time for the medical directives. Okay. So medical directives. So I want all the helpers and our clients to be familiar with the service that we call DocuBank. So we have vendors that we work with, and DocuBank is the vendor that we utilize to store your medical directives digitally. As you saw, the medical directives are on your portal. But what if you get into an accident, right? And you're probably not carrying your medical directives in your wallet, right? And so if you are, if you're a client and you have your card and you know on the card, I'll show you how it looks like. It has a member number and a PIN number, and your initial personal password is just your zip code. You can change it after that, all right? But that is, if you want full access to DocuBank, you would do this. Let me show you how the card looks like. The card looks like this, okay? And the member number and PIN number is there. And look how quickly, print review, right? Print documents. How long did it take me to go find this, right? Literally 30 seconds, and I've got access to the documents 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is connecting your medical. So you don't have to go, where's mom or dad's medical directive? Or they were trying to get me to sign this medical directive. No, we've got it right there. And then there's other features to DocuBank, which I like. The other features to DocuBank, these are not legal items, but these are more practical items, okay? So with my dad, he was on about 6 different medications. If you wanted, you could have a medication list, and it'll tell you the types of you can, if you wanted to add medication. And in our handouts that we passed out, I'm not going to go through each one. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you wanted to edit a medication that you have, you just press edit, right? And you can just put those items in there. If you wanted to delete a medication, guess what? You hit the trash can, right? You want to add a medication, you just do the medication name, the dosage, the frequency. It would have been great because we were trying to keep track of all of that. That's a nice little thing. It's not a legal item and you don't have to do it, but if you are someone that are on different types of medications, that can make things a little bit easier for the family. Medical snapshot is also helpful, not only for the family, but for the medical professionals. Who's your primary medical conditions, vaccination histories, family history. These are things that you can put in as well. Again, not necessary, not a requirement. These are things that I'm just making sure that you're aware of. And if you can't get to the web, there's an 800 number on the card. You can call that 365 days a year and 24 hours a day, and they'll have them faxed or emailed to the providers, okay? If they don't want to pull these things down themselves, okay? I find a lot of people don't want to take that 10-second delay that would just make you go through that. Now, for those of you who are not the clients that don't have like the password information, if you actually look at this, read this screen, it says, please select one of the options below. If you just like to view your documents without logging in, please click here. That is if you don't want the full access to do all that, you're a helper and you have the member number and PIN number, then you're able to just go ahead and do that, and they'll be able to print that or even fax it to the hospitals. So DocuBank, important. That is something I wanted you to be familiar with. And that stores the medical directives. And if you did healthcare instructions, they are there as well. The healthcare instructions are there to supplement the legal documents. And in my view, the healthcare instructions, those are the things that they look like this. And so we're talking about healthcare. So one of the healthcare instruction forms that we have is just hypothetical scenario, right? Situation A, bad. You're in a coma, bad situation. How do you want treatment? You don't. And so situation B, you got a small chance, right? Situation D was my dad's. You know, he was not terminal, but he was not able to recognize any of us, right? And so what are your views in those scenarios? It's not a perfect science. The letters of instruction, that's the letter of instruction to guardians and trustees. I'll get to that one in a second. letter of instruction to healthcare agent. This is where you can write stuff in. The other one is just more scenarios, but if you wanted to write things in, I just think it's easier to edit than create. It just hit the major topics, and you don't have to fill it all out. The best is, but fill out what you need. But again, this is really to help communicate your wishes to your helpers. Termination of life support, who you want around, who you don't want around, medical record access, choice of physicians, medical tests, how invasive you want them to be, medications, healthcare facilities and long-term care preferences. Okay, so again, we're trying to bring life to the plan here, rather than, hey, I've got this medical directive. Well, now what, right? What do I do then? And then the 911 info. This is the training that I'm doing right now. We will post this one as a follow-up, and that'll replace the one that we currently have on our website. And the idea is that we keep this fresh every year. And I encourage the helpers. You're required to come once at least every 5 years, so have an idea what the heck is going on and what to do at the appropriate time. These deeper dives are here, and I'll be updating those on a consistent basis as well. Then what was the other item I wanted to? And I do short videos on different topics if you want to look at those. And then there are some good resources that I'm trying to vet some more resources. But on our the resource tab, there's a helpful sites, and I'm just gonna. The last one is he's kind of buried in here, so maybe I'm trying to lift him up, and maybe we can fix this. But David Solie is if we're dealing with care, long-term care issues, and aging issues, then David Solie is one of the better commentators on this. He has a great website. You can see caregiver support, aging loan. So again, we're just trying to provide you resources in those situations. So those are the helpful sites. That's our client dashboard. There's no specific information with regard to your plan on our website. All of your documents are on the secure portal. We just keep very generic items on our website. If you did want to access your letters of instruction or healthcare checklist, or if you haven't done them and you want to do them, there's two ways you can access those. On your portal, there will be, I think I have to go back. On your portal, there will look something like this. There'll be a section where they're not going to be filled out. So you'll see, if you see hypothetical scenarios fillable, final arrangements fillable, these means that these are blank. If it says they're signed, that means that we've got a signed copy. So that's one way you can pull them, and they're easy to download. And then the other one is on our website. There is Document Hub Access Fillable Client Documents. And those are the letters of instructions and the like all over there. Okay. So just technology, easy, insightlaw.net, go to the client dashboard. Those are the main items that I wanted to address for you on that. Okay, and that's just kind of a little review of the items that I wanted to address with regard to our website. Again, this is the items that we talked about: healthcare checklist, medication list, medical snapshots. I didn't talk about the Minors Matter card. If you do have minor children and you wanted to have a part of our package for minor children is we'll do a healthcare power of attorney for childcare, so that if you're not able to take them to the doctor, you've listed some people that you trust that they could take the kid to the doctors. That is one that you can actually obtain that service, where there's a little card that you can give to the nanny or to your relative, and that would allow them to talk to the doctors and the like. The young adults one, 18 and over option. So this is one where a lot of our clients who have kids going to school, college and the like, hey, can you give us a simple package for them, a medical directive, a financial power of attorney, and maybe a simple will, so that something happens, we can make decisions for them for their medical decisions and the financial side. And that is something some of our clients have asked us to do for them. And then if you have a special needs individual, one that is maybe autistic or has special disabilities, then that DocuBank will actually, those medications and special lists and the like, those are really important, and that's a nice place to have them central to all the centralized on the web. I got a question. How does one edit a signed hypothetical or other form? So if you already signed one, all you do to edit it is you're just going to go ahead and just download a blank one, and then you're going to just fill it out again and then sign it. That makes sense. So a lot of our clients, as they get older, they start looking at that list a little bit closer. I think Jim, you had a question. Just type it in the chat if you have it. Be happy to address that in the chat if you'd like, or you can send it to me directly, and I'd be happy to go over that. I got another quick question. How do helpers access our documents on the portal? That's a great question. And so this is something that we are developing, but so it really just depends on I think from us, and maybe we need to just get from our clients what they need. So you certainly can give them access to your portal, and that's easy enough to do. Michelle can send them that information, but then they would have access to your full portal. And I don't know if that's what you want. You may want that. It could be fine. And that's an easy way to do it. If we want to just have it segregated just to certain documents, that's something that we're working on. From what I'm telling you now, at least in the death situation, right, or disability, hey, we can get to the portal and get those documents at that time. But during your lifetime access, I think the first step one is what type of access you want to give them, and then we figure out, okay, and then we can make the portal there. So hopefully that answered that question for you. Is there an administrator login for the portal and or DocuBank? I don't know what that means, George. I think that's what you were asking about with where you're segregating. Hey, I can see everything, but I want to only have certain things. So if I'm hearing that accurately, then I want to know from you. This is about communication. Tell me what types of things that you want them to access, and then we can work with Action Step to build that side of the portal. Okay, they can just access these items, but as of this time, I can't just check certain things off for that. But again, something that we can put in, and that's kind of the next step as what we would like to do. So good questions, and it helps me communicate with our tech side of items so that we can get you what you need. So this is why we do these programs. And this is just going through the similar items that I went through as far as the medication list. We went through this, right? The documents, adding medications. That's pretty straightforward, but I'm just showing you do have these slides as part of your handouts. And so to me, could be valuable. I definitely knew it would be valuable for me. And so when there's elevated care and issues, having, things are tense enough as it is, having things really clearly laid out helps and goes a long way. So for DocuBank, nothing on DocuBank. That is something where they would get that there is administrative access, and DocuBank, they can just pull documents. If they have your password, they could go in and see your medication list, and also see your medical snapshot, which maybe that seems to me on the DocuBank side, we want more. So maybe if people could tell me on the medical stuff, I would want full access, and that's easy enough to do. You could either give them just the card and your password, or if they need their own password, we can have DocuBank's support is great. They can send your helpers their own password to access these things, okay? But I've got that written down as an item, but thank you very much. Okay, so the portal for us has really greatly reduced administration costs. We used to print all those things out, keep them in paper format. And so for me, the portal has helped. And one of the things that we're going to hit now are the key reports that you're going to need to understand in our firm. We only have 2 key reports, and if everyone understands what those are, we're miles ahead of most estate plans that are out there. And again, we've got an online storage place now. We're at the point now where we're just getting online storage for the estate planning documents. Now I'm getting more questions. So as you know, with our process, we're always going to try to get better. So can we get, segregated access to things? Let us know, and we'll make sure we can address those issues. And then always, right, because we have digital versions of it, if the clients helpers know the law firm information, right, and if they have the necessary authorizations, we've got all of those documents as well, right? But this is just for me, for you all to be able to be comfortable with that. And so for me, the portal is a great communication tool. The other item that is becoming more and more prevalent, okay, and it's kind of on the we've started looking at this a few years back. It's your digital assets, okay, your online accounts. We don't want your usernames and passwords, but your photos, your Apple account, your email, what happens to all those? You want them deleted? Do you want them transferred? And so that's what we currently use, what's called a digital executor service, where if we give them guidance on what you want to happen on that, they don't take your passwords or username, they just enforce or implement what your decisions are. This is an evolving field, and we're still evaluating it because it's so new. And as we work through settlements, we're getting more and more knowledge in this area. So soon to come, there's going to be more information next year. We'll be discussing next steps in that area. And a lot of times I get questions on crypto as well. So I understand that it's an important topic. And yes, we're evaluating that at this point. So that's our basic technology. Now, the other things that I want you to understand is there's some key elements that I find that as long as you have these key elements down, then your estate plan is going to work. And these tie back to our reports. Okay. So you need to know what our estate planning review worksheet is. So our estate planning review worksheet. And I have one. I'll show you the one that I've got on our portal. Where did I put our portal? So on the portal, you'll have your estate planning review worksheet where it says client update program. Okay, and so you can just download it. And the idea with the estate planning review worksheet, I'm sorry the trust is long. I wish I could make it 10 pages, but it's about our the government and our financial institutions. A lot of the stuff is there just in case, or I find that when you're dealing with the government or financial institutions, the one who has the biggest stacks of paper usually wins, okay? So I'm trying to make things easier for you, and I'm trying to boil this down. This is like the Reader's Digest. These are the key provisions of your planning, okay? And so the trust, these are your trustees. These are the current trustees. Do you ever want to make any changes to this? Every 3 years on the clock, we're updating this, and you let us know if you want to make any personal changes, right? The disability panel is an important item. I'm going to table that because we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But this is just an executive summary of the plan, and you just need to know where that is. The other key, and so let me make sure I've got that. Yeah, so on the estate planning review worksheet, used to review the plan and used to provide immediate implementation. Let's say I don't like to do this, but if we were in a pinch and you were needing to make a change, if you signed and dated that estate planning review worksheet, that gives me an argument to say if something happened to you, that was their wishes, that's what they wanted to do, and we didn't get a chance to formally update that document. Trust Protector, I'll talk about in a minute. And then the asset review report. I think this is probably the #1 critical report that we have. This is basically when someone passes away, #1, the biggest pitfall that I see most estate plans, people don't know where the assets are, they're mistitled, and it's kind of it's a scavenger hunt to find things. Not in our firm, okay? So with us, we have an asset review report that is on your portal, okay? And you can access this. And this is basically an easy way for us. Something happens to you, I hit a button, I know where everything is at. I'm not playing Sherlock Holmes to go find everything. Let me put a newer one up real quick. The 2023. This one's more recent. So our asset review report is basically a listing and nothing fancy of, okay, here are these accounts. A check mark on our asset review report means we've verified it's titled properly. And so this is where I'm going to talk about funding. Remember I talked to you about the trust, and a lot of people have been sold trusts by a lot of law firms, but none of the follow-up work has been done. And so think of a trust as nothing more than a box, okay? And a revocable living trust basically is a box, and it only works if you put stuff in the box, okay? And so funding is the process of where you're titling your assets into the trust, okay? So that when something happens, maybe disability, you pass that box on to the next person, they open it up, follow the instructions and implement. When you pass away, open the box, follow the instructions and implement. That's a nice way to centralize management of the assets. And we're not going to go through probate if we've got everything in the box, okay, or titled to the box, okay? And what I mean by that is if we've got your bank accounts and the like in the box, or have some way where it gets connected to the trust, we're in good shape. And if you have your asset review report and there's comments in here, don't disregard the comments. We have two funding coordinators that are great, Jenny Oliver and Taylor Hayes, that are making, they're doing these comments, and they're right now in the renewal process of updating everyone's asset review report, and they're going to be on your portal, okay, in December. And the idea there is that you review them, and then you're going to put the new values of assets. If you sold something, cross it out so we don't have to go after that. And if you bought something new, there's a place where you can add new assets. Now, for those of you who've been with us for a while, if you're going to buy a new property, call us ahead of time so we can work with a title company. We're here to help you on those items. That's part of our maintenance plan. Or you're opening up a new account, hey, call us so we can make sure you take the right documents down to the place rather than do it wrong and then we're trying to figure out how to fix it afterwards, which takes much longer. All right. So listen to read the comments and help us help you. We can't do this for you. They're not going to send us, the financial institutions aren't going to send us the statements. They're going to send you items. The one thing that I find is a common misconception, and number one, you have to understand is for our clients' plans, if you're the owner of the IRA, we will never put your own retirement plan into your trust or a 401k. That would be the IRS considers that a distribution, and that would be when taxes are due. We don't want to do that. I'm here to help minimize taxes. And so we're not going to put your IRA into the trust, okay? But we may have the trust be one of the beneficiaries of the IRA, and there's a lot of good reasons why we do it. And one big reason is that a lot of our clients have a lot of wealth built up in their IRA, and you can, the spouse, if it's a married couple situation, typically 9 times out of 10, it makes sense to roll that IRA to the spouse. And then if there's a next generation, those IRAs, if there's substantial assets in them, makes a lot of sense to keep them in a trust at that point for asset protection purposes, creditors, divorce, like Medicaid. You don't have to, but those are things that we're counseling our clients on. But they don't go into the trust up front. But we have to make sure that we have a beneficiary designation. And so when we ask you for a verification of the beneficiary designation, do you ever see your beneficiaries on your statements of your IRA? No. So sending us a statement's not going to help. You have to go in, if you have an advisor, have them send us a screenshot of it, something that says, these are the beneficiaries, because the stakes are high. You haven't paid taxes on that money unless it's a Roth. And if you make if the wrong beneficiary is listed, there's negative tax consequences there. So we're not doing this for our own information. And so if you're a helper, you want to make sure that we've got every one of these things addressed. Okay, I don't know, and so I'm not saying that you don't have to disclose all the assets, but just make sure, hey, is everything fully funded? That's what I mean, is that we have a check mark by something, or that we have everything verified. That way we know we're not going to go through that probate process. And so if you think about it, the two key elements of a plan that works is, one, I got the client's instructions updated, and it's not something that's 10 years old. We've got them updated within 3 years. And then the asset review report is updated every year. Okay, so it's not more than a year old. We sent it out in December. We can't do it real time, but at least every year we got it. We know what we're going to look at. And so instructions, assets, were miles ahead. And then you have to understand those are the key reports at our law firm. We call them in an asset review report, the ARR, in the estate planning review worksheet, the EPRW. It's just because it's just quicker to say those things. But again, if you're a helper, you would have no idea. What does that mean? All right. And then the third essential element, and this is a harder one to understand, or the harder one to kind of communicate with the clients, is when to seek additional counseling, right? When do we need to reach out and say, hey, we need some help here, right? And that's usually when it comes to health concerns like diminishing capacity, right? And so with my dad, he just didn't wake up one day and have Alzheimer's or dementia, right? It's a progressive disease. And so, when you're 10% not with it, maybe that's okay. When he was 50% not with it, how does that look, right? What is he doing the other 50% of the time with his money? So for us, if you can alert us in the initial kind of phases of the, if there is a diagnosis, the earlier on, the better. At least we can provide, there's more legal strategies available, at least on that side, or we can direct you to different resources at that time. Diminished capacity is when, you're no longer able to manage your financial affairs. Diminishing, you're on your way down. Diminished is you're not able, and we need to figure out, what to do at that point. And I'll show you our process for that. If you didn't have a process, and if you didn't have any legal documents, it's a nightmare. I have clients who have family members who ask me, hey, my mom didn't have a power of attorney, and now she's disabled. What happens? Well, that's not a good situation to be in, because if you want to be able to, and a financial power of attorney, and I didn't go into that, is a document, a legal document that designates an agent to make financial decisions for you. But think about it. If you have a trust, everything we put in the trust, the trustees of the trust can manage it. The financial power of attorney doesn't do anything with the trust. Okay, this is much more powerful. But remember that IRA that we talked about? I can't put the IRA in the trust. So a financial power of attorney will manage those financial assets that are outside of the trust. And kind of like the hallmark asset is the IRA or the 401k. Okay. And so let's say, or if you didn't do a trust, right, and mom had a bank account in her individual name, you ain't going to be able to manage that. You're going to have to go to court, because no one just can't show up to the bank. The bank's just going to say, oh, yeah, sure, you can take the money, right? It's called a guardianship proceeding first, to be able to take control over mom's healthcare decisions and figure out where she's going to be. And then a conservatorship is a different one, where there's that's where you can manage the assets, and there's accountings and it's court proceedings. It is a lot of money, and it's could be completely avoided if you have the right legal documents, like a trust or a financial power of attorney, which our clients have. Okay, well, what happens when you are in a diminishing situation in our firm, and you're with our firm, and we worried about disability? So what we use is called a disability panel to determine that. And the three critical questions that we want to address if there is a concern with a client's disability is, when are they disabled? Who do they trust managing their money when they're disabled? And what can they use their money for, right? And that when is really important, right? Because we like to control over our assets. And that when, if you're disabled, you lose control over that financial aspect of it. And most legal documents out there that I see, they say when two licensed physicians anywhere in the world say I'm disabled, right? And again, with my personal experience, my dad just didn't wake up one day and have Alzheimer's. It's gradual. So I think that it's not just a doctor. There should be other people involved. Okay. And so here's our process. First, number one, if there is a disability issue, notify the law firm, right? If you've got a diagnosis and the like, the earlier, the better. And then we'll convene to provide a private disability panel. And we'll convene the disability panel, and then the panel will make a determination. So who's on this panel, right? The panel is typically, in a married couple situation, it might be my primary care physician and my spouse, okay? It could be primary care physician, spouse, and the kids, or primary care physician and a friend. Primary care physician and a second medical opinion and a friend or a spouse, or the kids are backups. You get the idea. We're working with you to figure out who is that panel, and they're not making healthcare decisions. Their only question: who are the people that you trust? If we were sitting around a table, the question is, do I have the ability to effectively manage my financial affairs? Okay, and if it's not determined, if they say no, they can manage their financial affairs, nothing happens. Everything stays status quo. If it is determined to be that you are disabled, then the law firm, what we do is we create a certificate of disability. We provide that to all the financial institutions to take your name off that account and put the next person's name on, okay? Or just keep the healthy spouse's name on. Why are we going to do that? So in my dad's situation, he was getting scammed. People were taking advantage of him, and he was writing checks to the wrong people, okay? It's just living in a different world today where a lot of technology and people can get to you. Elder abuse is definitely on the rise, okay? And so it's just a sad situation to be in, and it's very scary if you have someone who can't manage their affairs in control of the account. They've worked hard all their life, and it just goes out the door, okay? And then the disability panel our approach is considerably less expensive than the guardianship and conservatorship. We stay out of court. We're pushing papers in the back. We're convening private panels. And typically the range is between $750 and $1,500 to do the whole retitling and the convening the panel versus $10,000 plus to go through the guardianship process. Why would you do that, right? And so people just don't know how to structure these things. This is all we do. And so the main thing is that you understand if there is a disability, just reach out to us, and then so that we can at least, maybe you're not in that point yet, but at least we can get ready and get our ducks in a row to make sure that we protect your assets of that situation. And so the financial powers of attorney, I showed you, these are legal documents designating an agent to manage your assets outside of the trust. The medical directive is the one designating your healthcare agent and your guardian, so you don't have to go to court to determine who you trust to determine where you're going to get your care. And then our special delivery system is one that we are developing because if the clients are becoming disabled, as part of our maintenance plan, they have to come into the office to sign the documents. And I found that a lot of people, we're trying to figure out how to coordinate that with a lot of families. And so we've just come up with a system that looks like this. Kind of the idea is if there is a disability, notify the law firm, right, on the onset of the disability. We'll do a disability teleconference. We'll determine, if we need to, dive deeper and if we need to get the panel convened or figure out the logistical issues on caregivers and who to go to. And then if we need to convene the panel determines then we have the panel determination, and then we start transferring the assets so that we can do that. So that's our basic process for it. And then to get us on a process to keep your plan updated, right? Your plans, if we have a change in the tax laws, you still got to update the trust. But if you can't sign it, we have to make sure we have other arrangements for that, or at least make sure we've got updates. Or it may just be a physical limitation. So then we have to put you on a special delivery process where we have to make special arrangements. And if you're on a special delivery process, there would be additional fees at that point, and we would agree to that in advance, depending on the level of the special delivery. Okay. And so the things that we go through in our checklist just to show you is, okay, on the mailings, who's receiving it? Is it the client? Is it the spouse? Is it a helper? Is it a son, daughter? And then next meeting, CUP stands for Client Update Program, and that's in the summer, and that's a 3-year cycle. And the annual client meeting is every year, go figure, and that's in January and February time frame. And we're doing those, the annual client meetings are mainly in Zoom, but who's going to be attending? Is it going to be through the web or in person? And the in person would be if you're coming to the client update program to sign. Are you going to bring mom or dad to the program or not? Or do we have to mail the documents out? Or are we going to do some type of digital signing? And then is there anybody, if there is a nursing home involved, or if there's a caregiver, who's going to check in and make sure they're doing things right, right? And then proactive elder law, I've talked about it. This is where we're worried about all the assets, not only just about the assets dissipating and not having enough to pay for care, but also just dealing with aging issues, right? And so that's getting you routed to the right people on that. And then this is what I've been talking about. Hey, is there asset review report in place? Is there an estate planning review worksheet? And then have they attended this program so they have an idea of our process, or are they coming in cold? If you haven't watched it, you got to go watch it before you come in so that we're not having to re-educate you on everything. So basic items, just to let you know, hey, this is what an estate planning law firm should do if they have a relationship with their clients. And clients, get sick sometimes and they can't make all the meetings. So we had to figure out special arrangements, but we can't know that without you letting us know. And then we come up with a plan specifically for you. And then also, things to think about, the different types of meetings. I'm sorry, this is smaller, but I was trying to bunch them all in. But these are types of meetings that you know how to communicate with the law firm if we do need to do meetings. A family meeting is like if there's been a diagnosis or a major family issue, what do we need to know? Let's call the family meeting in, or a personal counseling review session where the client has asked us, hey, there's been a major change in our goals or our plan. We need to think about this. It's not just a word processing change that we can just write on our estate planning review worksheet and update. We need to sit down with an attorney and talk to them, right? There's additional fees when we're dealing with, counseling review sessions. Advanced personal counseling reviews, if you have like some complex tax issue, advanced planning. Or a family counseling review is a follow-up to a family meeting to implement any new strategies. Okay, daughter's going to be the one managing the medications, or we've got this caregiver, they're going to do this, right? And so we've got a game plan for that. Or there's a family, and that's called by the family, and then, or at the client's option. And the last one could be called by the client or the law firm. And we've done this like in a settlement situation where we've hit a roadblock, maybe the family members are not, and we just got to call time out and let's figure out how do we get around that roadblock. To think through the issue. One of the main issues I find, and that could be in any meetings, is one big issue is dealing with cars, right? Where someone shouldn't be driving a car anymore and the like. And how do we think through that? And what's the most appropriate way? Because that's a lot of control, right? You give up. It's a lot of. It's giving up a lot for an individual to not be able to drive, and it could be a very tense situation in that. So, so just to give you an idea, kind of the basic, estate planning is usually dealing with assets and transfer of that. Elder law is really dealing with like the needs of the older person, where you're going to get care, resources, and the like, if you're in those situations. And we have this kind of this sheet here that kind of lays out kind of like the complete life cycle of a plan if we needed to go and help people as far as if I had to explain our process to people, is traditionally the estate plans was here's some documents and that's the setup of the plan, and then people would say, the attorney would say, call me when you're dead, right? So there's no maintenance. But we realized, hey, not only do we have to set up the plan, we have to fund it, we have to put everything in the right place, and then we have to maintain it hopefully you never have to deal with the elder law issues of, long-term care. But if you do, at least we've got a process for that. And when the death occurs, we have a settlement process for the surviving spouse. We have a survivor support program. And then for the beneficiaries, if they want to take advantage of it, we can keep the beneficiaries' inheritance protected on that end. Again, beyond the scope of today, but basically for the inheritors, a lot of our clients have created, I call them school bus trust or protective trust, lifetime protective trust, where the beneficiaries can get into it, but if they got divorced or if they had creditors or if they needed to go on Medicaid, which was one of the bigger issues, it's not a countable asset for those things. Elder law issues, these are the things kind of telling you, these are kind of like the aging issues that we've seen: driving, long-term care, payment options, discharge from facilities. The healthcare system is getting, it's just getting more and more complex and more like a business. And so it's hard to know your rights. I'm not an expert in that field. I know people who can help and patient advocates on that side. The only way I can know that is I have to have people tell me that you need help, that we can get you to the right people. And so, the idea of this proactive elder law program is, rather than just, have a seat of the pants trying to figure this out, let's have a plan, who's doing what, and have some roles laid out for everybody. Again, disability planning is probably one of the biggest issues because you're here, right? We have to figure things out for you. We have to help, get things to you, get your care, get people in place with a new process, a new normal. And so a lot of these things here, the healthcare checklists are helpful in this area. The David Solie materials I show you are helpful. DocuBank, we have a webinar on DocuBank on our website that just goes through the things that I went through today, but in more detail. And then I have interviewed resource partners, people who are in the various communities who go and vet the nursing homes or the assisted living facilities or the patient advocates and the like. All right, and I went through our special delivery service. So those are for people who can't go come to the programs on themselves. So we have to come up with special arrangements for them to figure out how we get the plan updated. And then that's our disability settlement security. I just showed you that little process chart. And then the family asset protection program, that is if you needed to go into, like, if we were really worried about Medicaid, and I didn't talk too much about it. Medicaid is the only government payer of long-term care services. So, in areas, the long-term care expenses are skyrocketing, and it could be anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 a month. I've seen them as high as $30,000 a month, even higher, okay, depending on the level of care, a month, right, for care. And that blows through some people's retirements, right? A lot of people's retirements. And there's ways, if we can get ahead of the game, to move assets out so they can protect some of those things. But by no means are we like a crisis planning firm where you're going into a nursing home and help us get all rid of our assets. We're proactive. Let's position things in the right place so it is not a mess at that time. All right. So as I told you, there was 4 things that were important. One was just knowing the asset review report, knowing the estate planning review worksheet, knowing when to seek additional counseling, okay? And then the trust protector support, it's a legal concept. Just know that it's out there. You don't need to know all the details, but it's a way for us to be able to update your plan even after you become disabled and even after you die. Why would I do that, right? Because let's say, I know the tax laws are changing and they're scheduled to change January 1 of 2026. Who knows what they're going to do ahead of time, right? But let's say there's a complete overhaul of the tax code and we needed to get you to sign your trust to put the new tax provisions in, but you're disabled. Well, you can have a trust protector appointed, usually by the spouse or the family. And the trust protector is usually us. It can't be related to you. They should have a strong understanding of the law, should have a strong understanding of the trust, go figure, and can only make changes based on your intent. So we're not changing beneficiaries. We're just putting the legal technical provisions in. Or, hey, there's a Medicaid case or there's a creditor case. We need to add this language. Boom. Or, hey, we've got these trusts for the kids and they're doing a bang up job investing, and these things are going on. They're going on for a long time. Hey, that gives them the ability to make adjustments to the legal provisions as well. I had a question. Is there a place to include long-term insurance benefits? Yes. We have that on the insurance section of your asset review report. It just didn't happen to be on this one, I don't think. But if you do have long-term care insurance, let us know. And it would just say long-term care here rather than term life insurance, Steve. So yes, we do. Let us know that. And the way that you do that is you upload your policy to your portal. We get notified, okay, of that. And I like to review the policy because I want to know if the policy allows you to have home care, or you have to go into a nursing home, or it's certain nursing homes, right? Or if there's a cap on benefits and the like. So to me, we want to know that. It doesn't get funded in any way. We just want to make sure that someone knows that you've got long-term care insurance, and that they know who to call at that time. So thank you for that question. Okay, so that was the main items I wanted to address as far as the reports and the key elements of the plan. And so requesting your assistance. So if you're a helper, and I define helpers as the backup people on the financial side, backup trustees, backup healthcare agents, and the like. Help us, help us help you if you're having to do this. And so, what do I mean by this? Is that asset review report support. If things aren't if things aren't fully funded, let's get them fully funded, right? Because if they're not fully funded, and we're asking for things, and you're not giving us that information, whose fault is that, right? And so our goal is we want the plan to work. We don't want to go through probate. So let's get these things knocked out. So read the comments. We're going to be sending those asset review reports, updated ones, in December, and let's get them fully funded. Let's get everyone fully funded. Let's take hopefully a strong push for that side. Healthcare checklist support, right? If they've done a healthcare checklist, great. Have they talked to you about it? I know this is a sensitive topic, but again, ignorance in this area or just ignoring it is not going to get anywhere. It's a big burden. So I think the conversation goes a long way in this type of scenario. And then the non-material wealth, those are those personal effects and the special stuff list. And so just having an itemization of those things that are special, to take those off the table. And this is where I find that you can do you can put like a nice little note on certain personal effects. And one of the people that did it the best was George Washington. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, here it is. So George Washington, he lived in Mount Vernon, Virginia, and our office happens to be in the Northern Virginia area, and his will is in the Fairfax County Courthouse. And I'm a nerd. I got his will. And so one of the places, I thought he did a great job. He did go through probate, but we would have done a better job for him on that. But one of the things he did was he gave his nephews these swords, right? But the way he gave it to them with a little note, right? And that to me is and so this is what he said, right? He said, "To each of my nephews, William Augustine Washington, George Lewis, George Steptoe Washington, Bushrod Washington, and Samuel Washington, I give one of the swords or couteau of which I may die possessed, and they are to choose in the order they are named. These swords are accompanied with an injunction not to unsheathe them for the purpose of shedding blood, except it be for self-defense or in defense of their country and its rights, and in the latter case, to keep them unsheathed and prefer falling with them in their hands to the relinquishment thereof." Wow.
So that's a way to give a gift. I just think that, if you have something personal, having a little note that goes along with it, of what some significance to it might give, I think it gives a little bit more power to that gift. So think about that. If when you're doing your special stuff list, if there's anything that has any background to it that you could write about. To me, those are the nice things on the estate planning side of things. And we have additional services, things called purposeful trust exercises and priceless conversations, which are guided exercises to get you at that non-material wealth. Those are additional, fees for those, and those are great if you want to do it. They're not that much. If you just wanted to do kind of a low, easy way to do it, you can do it yourself if you wanted to on our website. So on our website, there is a place. Where did I put our website? I got so many things going on here. Hold on. Let me get all right, the website. On the website, if you remember, there's a place in the client dashboard, document hub, accessible. There's a personal legacy declaration page. And so for that one, you can just download that. And that asks you some cool questions about, your family in the background, and a very nice kind of poem up in the front. And it just asks you some questions on that. And that could be part of the plan as well. All right. And so the family education program, you're part of it. You've attended today. You got to come once every 5 years because things change. Michelle, took attendance. We got you. Don't worry. The people that are here, if you didn't make it, if your helpers didn't make it here, they got to listen to this. So we'll put it up on the website, and I make sure that they listen to it. I give them an open book quiz. The quiz is very easy. It's like one question, but it would determine if they actually listen to the presentation. Okay, and then they would just email that to Michelle the answer, which we tell them. And so to me, that's important, because the idea for updating is that when the administration comes, the danger is if we don't update, things are out of date, things are not titled properly, there's probate, the administration expenses go up, okay? And I don't want that, right? And so, and also a lot of people with the estate plans, they create these plans and they have no idea what the process is on death. I'm trying to give you a little bit of an idea of that process. The deeper dive is when you're actually dealing with it. But, with regard to fees, those are very subjective, but the fees, when it comes to probate, are percentages of the estate. They go to 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. They're statutory guidelines, and it's just very expensive when things are not organized and the affairs are not set up in place. So the way that we do it is that we have our own kind of system where, hey, if you update the plan on a consistent basis, and we've set it up properly, then on the death, the administration is fees that we have are not going to be 5%, 4%, 3%, 2%. Our practice evolver, this is kind of like how we explain our fees and how we set up the plan, is there's a setup fee, there's maintenance, and at death, it's typically we charge 1.25% on the size of the net estate at death, and only if we're hired at death. Okay, so your family's not locked in, but that's already been agreed to, but they've got to hire us. So I'm not forcing anybody, but everyone has hired us at that point in time. And so those things are already in place. If you want to work with us, that's how we do it. We have a specific process for that. There's a question: how does a firm work if a loved one dies overseas? We haven't. That's a good one, Steve. I haven't done that. That's not good. I haven't done that one yet, where someone passes overseas. I do have attorneys in our network of attorneys who I'm sure have dealt with that. But this logistical issues are they residents of the U.S. or are they residents overseas? Do we need to bring the body over and the like? And so those things obviously would be coordinated beyond the scope for today. But yes, we haven't had one specifically pass away overseas yet, but we've had other attorneys in our network and that I see on our different listservs, and there's the specific items, the body, making sure we're dealing with the local laws and the like, and transferring over. Okay, but the main thing is we need to know your wishes, right? So the final arrangements are key. So if you envision yourself being overseas or a family member, then what are your wishes in that situation? That's where we need those final instructions so we can carry that through, right? And we know what you wanted to do at that specific time. And so just kind of a review of our process. It's a three-step approach versus the two-step approach of no maintenance. And so we're looking at setting up the plan, maintaining it, and then securing a good process to transfer that wisdom and wealth on the back end. And the keys to controlling the costs on the back end: full funding. I don't want to go to court. Okay, if it's court and it's on you, that's additional fees. I don't want to do that, right? It's a waste of everyone's time, I think, probate is. Proactive trustee and beneficiary training, that's what you're at today. Having an idea of our process, right? Just know the law firm name, know our website, right? Know where to generally find the documents. And if you can't find the documents, call us. And then know when to call, if there's an issue that you think that is something, hey, we may need to call a disability panel, or we need to, help us with try to get all the assets fully funded or complete the healthcare checklist. Those are the things that I'm enlisting your help for on that end. The proactive engagement approach is we just already have our engagement agreement set for the administration. It's just a matter of the successors hiring us at that time to do it. And I already mentioned this, the keys to a successful relationship: just make sure the expectations are clear. It's not a magic book. The trust is not going to do the work. It's not going to sprout arms and legs. It's the family, right? The book is important. It's really just understanding the process and understanding, okay, we got the book that has all the necessary language. Are the assets in the right place? Great. Let's contact the financial institutions. Let's get those things over to the right people. So we're not doing estate planning to you or for you. We're doing it with you. Okay, it's a team approach on this one. And our mission here is very clear. Our mission is to create plans that work for people who care. I always tell our team this when we do two retreats during the year. We have one coming up in January, and I tell them our mission is when we get that call when someone passes away, we want to be able to say everything's in good order. Just be with the family. Here are the final arrangements. When you're ready to come in, call the office. You're going to get priority. And we have an initial settlement meeting, which lays out our process, who's doing what. And we've done this 52 times. Okay. People don't want to hear, I think everything's in good order. Haven't heard from you in a while. Haven't seen your family at any of the education programs. Half the assets are funded. So that's not what the people want to hear, right? And then, okay, yes. So I got a question from Sheila and Al. When a loved one passed away, yes, you had one of those older cards that we had. So you were one of our charter clients, Sheila and Al. And what she's referencing is there's a laminated card that we used to give when we had like binders, what to do when a loved one passes away. That is still good. But as long as someone calls the law firm, what we do now is we email that list to you at that point. So we've got digital aspects of it, but the info is still okay on there. And and that's when we do those deeper dives. Like when someone does pass away, one of the things that we say on that sheet, I just know off the top of my head, like, don't drive the decedent's car. Why would you not drive the decedent's car when they pass away? So if you get into an accident with the decedent's car, right, after they pass away, then all those assets that are in the estate are subject to those creditors. All of it can be gone, right? Don't drive the car until we get it transferred over to the next person in line. But again, that's when we go into those, those deeper dives, when we go into death settlement and the like. Good question, Sheila. Bonus topic here, just on the Secure Act. I just did a Secure Act presentation for our clients. It was technical. It is going to be posted on our website if it's not already posted on our website. I warned people that it was technical. I did a big picture summary of it earlier on the year. Just be aware that the Secure Act impacts everyone's retirement plans, okay? And there's a handout that I think is a good handout that I pulled it offline that really lays out kind of the quick summary of everything. You should have that as part of your handouts. This gives you a quick kind of ability to tell you what the major items that the Secure Act did. I bullet pointed some of them for you. Basically, the required minimum distributions or withdrawals are deferred until 73 now. And then if you turn 74 in 2029, and then in 2032, if you're 75, that's when. So it gradually is letting, they're realizing people are living longer. And it's actually interesting. They had what the IRS does with these IRAs, if you are familiar with they have these life expectancy charts, and they say, okay, because you haven't paid taxes on traditional IRA money, so the government wants you to take it out at some point, right? And it used to be 70 and a half. Then the Secure Act 1.0 said you get till 72. Now the Secure Act 2.0 says 73. And they came up with these new life expectancy charts last year, and with people living longer, right? But this was done after COVID, and actually with COVID, the life expectancies went the other way. So I don't know if they're going to update the charts any other way, but unfortunately, but anyway, the charts have been updated, and then they've reduced the penalties if you didn't take your RMD, and they're pretty forgiving on that side. The contribution limits, 2022, we're here. 2023 are here. I should probably have 2024 up. I think those are on that sheet I gave you. Just letting you know that's dealing with the IRAs and the like. The key concepts, the basic things that they were hitting were required minimum distributions, and dealing with IRAs and the like. And the big difference was, as estate planners, we were able to just do some great estate planning with IRAs, because what happened was, if we have a married couple situation, after the surviving spouse passed, we could leave assets to the kids, and they could take those assets, distributions from those assets from those IRAs over their life expectancy, right? So if they had a 20 or 30-year-old, they wouldn't have to take that much money out, and that thing could just keep being tax deferred for many years. The IRS is like, we need our money, because the only time you get the only time the IRS gets the tax from an IRA is when you take the money out, is when you get the 1099-R and they tax you. They said, forget that. For anybody who's not a spouse, basically, 10 years. You got to take all that money out in 10 years. But again, if you wanted more information on it, I did go into a technical discussion of it. If we don't have it posted, I'll have it posted. And then on our annual client meeting this last year in 2022, I went over it. I'm sure I will in 2023 in January of this year. And then I'm sure I will go over that in 2024, because there are some proposed changes, because they've made some mistakes. So I'll give you the update on that in the annual client meeting, and I'll give you the update on whatever else Congress decides to do at the end of the year. All right. The quiz question that I'm going to ask your people who take this at the end of the people who haven't attended today is really basic, right? What does the DocuBank card store? Your medical directives, right? What should be one of the first things you do on the legal end when a loved one passes away? Call the law firm, right? And so those are easy things. The next steps, you don't have to answer those questions. It's just for those who are going to be watching that on video down the line. You need to send those to Michelle. Her email address is M like Mary, T like Tom at insightlaw.net. And, we are basically at the end of the program. I think I've answered all the questions in the chat box. I appreciate everyone's attendance. Hopefully everyone has a great Thanksgiving next week. And I'm glad that everyone made it here. Hopefully everyone stays safe for the holidays. This has been Bobby Fazy, president of InSight Law, and we're in the trustee training outline. Thank you very much. Good to see everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to you. All right, I'm going to close us down. Nava wants me to go and play lacrosse with her, so I got to go. I gotta go throw the ball. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.